We are back with you live once again for another Johnny Torch live broadcast. Broadcast number 165, and it's our, typically we would call this the Hooray for Comic-Con broadcast, but we're just going to call it Torch News Roundup number 143. I'm going to be honest with you, a little disappointed with Comic-Con this year. There was absolutely nothing from DC, nothing from Warner Brothers they had to offer. Nothing from Star Wars, although they really don't have nothing to offer to begin with. And the stuff offered from the MCU was decidedly 50-50. And we'll get into all that in just a moment. Welcome in, first of all. Please check our link in the description below for The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, my comic book, which we were going to talk about today, but I think we get so much stuff to talk about with the MCU news in the Comic-Con. We'll probably hold off on that until next week. Also, check out my link in the description below for my Twitter page if you want to follow Johnny Torch on Twitter and see all the exciting and sometimes less than exciting events in my life as a tweeter. All right, so let's see. Kind of a rainy, dismal day outside. Our hot streak of heat wave sort of is over, and it's settling down to be rather comfortable, so to speak. Before we get into the topics at hand, we always read the mailbag, and I want to admonish everybody to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button if you haven't, because like I said, we're trying to get to 100 subscribers. And if you're a regular listener and you haven't, and viewer, but I think my show is mostly for sort of the audio quality of it. But if you haven't subscribed already and you're a regular listener, subscribe and let me know. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the show. And I always read all my comments in a segment we call Mailbag. And we do have a comment. Part of the problem with the comment functionality of YouTube is that generally I don't check my spam folders often enough. I only do it once a month, and we had some spam in there. One of them, I don't know what it was. It was spam, and I just deleted it. But the other comment we have was from 2 weeks ago on my SJW rant topic, which was the one with Samuel L. Jackson on the thumbnail. This is from Kusha, Las Vegas, ex-Muslim, and he or she says, "Follow Jesus Christ." To which I say, "Amen, amen," and I am so happy for you that you found Jesus Christ, and that is truly the greatest gift of all. All right, so that's all we got for the mailbag, but hey, it was an important comment I felt. And if you have any other comments, religious or otherwise, I will read them and answer them. Of course, you do have to be respectful. I'm not openly inviting problem posters to come in, as I know they tend to do whenever religion is a topic that's broached. But here on the Torch News Roundup or any of my Johnny Torch live broadcasts, Christianity is welcomed. All right, so let us move on now to the first topic here. We're taking a look at all the information from Comic-Con. This, I'm not sure if it was released at Comic-Con, but it is the Picard trailer that was released around the time of Comic-Con. I'm not sure exactly. I don't have a, I'm not going to show the trailer. I'm not going to try to cover it verbatim, but we'll talk about this briefly here. Sort of my general overall thoughts. I looked at the Flash trailer for season, what is it now, 5 of The Flash, and I have to admit it's largely forgettable. I said I was going to look over it again and see if maybe we would talk about that, break that down. I don't really know what the heck they're leading with there. There's some kind of doctor guy, and he's claiming he's going to end death. They have some sort of black symbiote thing go over the Flash logo. So again, this sounds pretty exciting the way I'm describing it, but there really isn't much to talk about with it. So there you go. So back to the Picard trailer. This was our first real look at Picard, the new series, the CBS all access series. And to be honest with you, it looks very good. I can't really find anything to complain about, thankfully. As I've been saying all along, I'm probably not getting CBS All Access for this show. And I wouldn't call myself a diehard next gen fan. I'm more of a TOS guy. But this does look like a faithful, a worthy follow up to the next generation. There are some surprises. So, spoiler warning, if you don't want to hear any of them, tune back in about 3 minutes. But Data is referenced, and Picard talks about how he gave his life to save him 20 years earlier. And then, of course, we see B4 apparently disassembled and put on the shelf almost literally. And then by the end of the trailer, we have apparently B4, I suppose it could be Data, playing cards with Picard. So they didn't waste any time, convincing us that we are going to get not only Brett Spiner back, but we are going to get sort of a resolution to that storyline of, they left us with hope that B4 would sort of become Data. And, I'm hoping that that's going to be a long storyline that is throughout the whole series. No word as of yet whether this is going to be an ongoing series either. I don't know if this is just meant to be a one-off season. I'm not sure. But we also have 7 of 9, Jerry Ryan, the lovely Jerry Ryan, making an appearance. Again, I am not too diehard of a Trekkie fan to really know too much about her character. I know she was on Voyager, I believe. I think I've seen like one episode of Voyager in my entire life. But she was an important character there. I think she's part Borg. Again, I'm not sure. And the storyline here is apparently a young woman is being pursued by some sinister forces, and she ends up coming across Picard, who is seen as not really enjoying the life of a farmer or vineyard tender or whatever his new deal is in retirement. And he sort of broaches coming back to the Federation. I thought we were going to see Janeway, as a matter of fact, but that wasn't her, I don't think, in the scene where he's sort of coming back to the Federation. And he's sort of taking her under his protection. And this sounds interesting. All along through the trailer, they're saying things like she doesn't really know who she is or the whole story, which is kind of interesting. I mean, a lot of people are trying to, some people would kind of poo-poo it and be, well, it's another, they're sort of using another female protagonist that'll sort of take over the show. But I don't particularly think so. I don't think that's not necessarily the case. It's always sort of an engaging tag, no pun intended, to have like the mysterious woman and so on and so forth. I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting idea. And apparently Picard is going to hire a new crew. I don't think he's necessarily going to captain a Federation ship. Looks like he's sort of just pulling together, sort of like an all hands on deck thing. And again, this is interesting because I think most of us want to see more of the original characters, Geordi and Worf and so on. I think on Twitter they did confirm that Riker is going to at least be seen in an episode. Jonathan Frakes confirmed it. So that's kind of what I want to see. I was kind of hoping it would be more in the line of that, where we'd have a couple of familiar hands on the ship. But it looks like Picard is getting a new crew together. I did find it interesting. There's a line where it says, "Be the captain they expect you to be," or something like that. And I'm like, do they really know him? These new cadets or whatever they are, these rookies, I don't think they know anything about Picard other than maybe what they'd hear in the history files or something. So they kind of, at least to me, sort of suggested that Picard has been doing stuff in the past 20 years. I don't know if that's really the case. Maybe I should watch the trailer again. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I'm really happy with the trailer. I really like what I see, and I'm hoping that it's going to be good, and maybe eventually it's kind of getting to the point where you have to get all kinds of streaming services. And at some point, I'm hoping to be able to see this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're a real diehard next gen Trekkie, did this really, blow your mind? Did this rock your world? For me, being sort of a sort of a passive next gen Trekkie or Trekker, whatever is in popular parlance now, I did enjoy it. I thought it looked very good. And Patrick Stewart didn't really lose a step. You got to hand to the guy. He's always on spot, and really does a good job. All right, so let's take a look now at our slate for Comic-Con. And like I said, basically this is all MCU. We talked briefly yesterday about, and make sure you check out that show because that was a lot of fun. We talked about sort of the CW panels and stuff that they were doing with the Arrowverse and so forth. So if you're interested in that, check that out. But let's see. First off, we're going to talk about the Disney streaming shows, and they talked a little bit about them. They didn't go into too many details, I don't believe, but let's start with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which again, this is strange because last time we saw the Falcon, he was given the mantle of Captain America. He takes the shield in Endgame. I don't know. Is he going to be Captain America in this? Now they're showing in the title here the Captain America shield. So I don't know. Apparently, I think I've heard buzz that Anthony Mackie says he is going to be wearing a Captain America suit, and he's not wearing the Chris Evans one. He's getting his own Captain America suit, which I don't think he'd look good in the Chris Evans one. I liked the Avengers one, the first Avengers movie suit, and they never went back to that except for Homecoming doing a gag. But here we go. This is where I'll first start off by saying the MCU has welcomed the scrubs. This is the MCU just outright embracing the worst era of comics that the history of comics has ever seen, the past 10 years. I'd say from, I don't know, 2007, 2008 on, comics have been terrible. And they're basically bypassing, they gave us like the golden era. They gave us the original Captain America, Iron Man, all that stuff. And then they are passing the torch now, passing the mantle on to other characters to carry on the legacy of the familiar character, the famous character. And of course, they're doing it as Marvel has in the past 10 years in a woke manner where, it's the Falcon is taking over for Captain America, Jane Foster for Thor, and so on and so forth. And it's just, I've said this many times, I don't think, and this affected my enjoyment of Endgame. I don't think any one actor is bigger than the character. This goes for Chris Evans. This goes for Heath Ledger. This goes for Robert Downey Jr. As great as he is as Iron Man, he should not be the last person who ever plays Iron Man. He should not even, the character should not even have to wait 10 years for a replacement actor. They should just carry on with another actor in the role. But somewhere along the line, I think the fandom just became overly clingy, for lack of a better term, to a lot of these actors. And it doesn't just happen in the MCU. It happens, like I said, with Heath Ledger. A lot of people don't want to see the Joker again because he performed so well as the Joker. I think that's all a lot of nonsense. You'll always find another actor that can fit the bill, that'll fit that role. And I don't think this was a good idea. And the fact of it is now we're going to see how terrible an idea that was when we're going to see the diminished returns once they put these woke characters in these roles. Now, I'm sort of giving an overview here because, I mean, I could talk about this with each and every, topic that we've got coming up, such as, Thor 4, Hawkeye, all these films and series. But the overall point is, I don't think that the MCU will collapse right off the bat. Now, this is sort of my overall prediction of it. What you're going to see is, again, Kevin Feige is a genius. I think I've come to think of him as a mad genius at this point, because he is basically throwing away all the goodwill that Marvel fans, normie fans, have for the MCU. They really haven't given us a bad movie yet. Like I said, I disagree with a lot of the stuff with Endgame, and I would say Homecoming, Guardians 2, and Captain Marvel are my least favorite films, but none of them are insufferable. None of them will, just disgust me to the point of turning them off. They're still very watchable. But you're going to destroy the goodwill of the MCU when they're going to just plug in all these woke characters and have them take over these mantles. I don't think this is going to destroy the MCU right off the bat, because the same thing with the Phase 3. I'm always forgetting what phase they are. The same thing with Phase 3. We were sort of introducing another segment of characters. So I think certain things are still going to be popular. For instance, Black Panther 2 is still going to be a success, because they're not ruining that. We've already started the franchise in Phase 3. Black Panther 2 is going to be a success. I think when you have other things like Thor 4, which is of course called something else. We'll get to that when we talk about that. That's not necessarily going to be a failure either, because we're going to have Chris Hemsworth in the movie as Thor, and fans are going to want to see what happens once he passes the hammer to his successor, and Chris Hemsworth is out. That's where you're going to have to find how much traction these films are, and these characters are going to be able to hold together the MCU. I don't really know if they're going to take hold. I think this next phase is going to be sort of an extended farewell, because I'm pretty sure they're going to do away with Chris Hemsworth's Thor. They're going to do away with, Hawkeye, the Falcon and Winter Soldier, which we're supposedly talking about now. People are going to be interested in that stuff. But when Hawkeye passes the baton to Kate Bishop, when we have Thor going off riding into the sunset, when we have the Falcon as the new Captain America, which I imagine they're going to try to probably bring about a new Avengers, I think that's when we're going to have trouble. So I think you're going to see the MCU continue to be successful for the most part during Phase 4. I think by the end of Phase 4, that's when we're going to really see where the rubber meets the road, as they say. Are they going to be able to continue on with, like I said, just the barest of sure things? I mean, what's a sure thing? Thor with the female Thor is not a sure thing. Black Panther 2 and 3 are probably sure things, unless they completely botch that, which I don't know how they could. Captain America 2, again, I don't know if that's a sure thing. It was placed very meticulously between two Avengers movies. And believe it or not, that was the key to success for that film. If that was just another Marvel film, it probably wouldn't have been as successful. But the idea was that Captain Marvel was going to have this big introduction in Endgame, and you would have to see, the movie to you know be able to pick up what was going on, and that was not the case at all. So again, you know, is this the beginning of the end? I would say yes. Is the end coming soon? I would say no. I would say most of these shows and movies are going to be successful. I do think that there's going to be diminished returns going forward. I don't think you're going to keep the normies interested by doing Lady Thor or doing um what else is this is something also that I talked about yesterday briefly when I got the question by Hunter Iggy. I touched on the fact that also, like, for instance, we have Black Widow, but it's going to be a passing of the torch. That's the problem. I think everybody that's a fan of Scarlett Johansson and what she's done with the Black Widow are hoping that this is going to, parlay into a trilogy, maybe an extended sort of keeping Scarlet around for an extended period where she could, possibly turn up somewhere else, possibly turn up in a as an alternate universe character from the multiverse, something like that. I don't think that's the case. I think they are trying to just usher her out with a passing of the torch movie. They're going to pass the baton to somebody else, Yelena, whatever the other Black Widow's name is, and they're just going to, completely drop her from the roster. And that's kind of what's happening. That's what this phase is going to be. This is going to be the dropping of the originals, the ones that weren't phased out in I was going to say season 3, in phase 3. We only really lost Evans and Robert Downey Jr. Here we're going to have the long goodbye. We're going to kiss goodbye Scarlett Johansson, not a bad thought, Chris Hemsworth, and Jeremy Renner. And, we're going to have their successors in phase 5, and hopefully they'll still be offering us enough to incentivize us to stay around. I mean, there'll be Black Panther 3, I imagine. Guardians will probably be done. Again, it's just sort of sad, but that's basically an encapsulation on my feelings for the MCU going forward, and just exactly how will that shake up. All right, let's talk about the Falcon and Winter Soldier now. This is the topic at hand. The Falcon and Winter Soldier is set sometime after Spider-Man Far From Home in the MCU's timeline, but we don't know exactly when. Baron Zemo, the villain of Captain America Civil War, is back for the series, and this time he'll be wearing his iconic purple mask. See, now so there is some exciting stuff to be had. That's why I'm saying I'm not entirely, casting doubts on this phase. I think they could pull off some interesting things. This might be one of them. Zemo will be played by Daniel Bruhl, who played him in Civil War. According to Variety, the show is written by Malcolm Spellman of Empire. The Wrap reported earlier this month that he would be joined by John Wick writer Derek Kolstad. Meanwhile, Deadlines reported that Carrie Slogan, Handmaid's Tale, will direct all 6 of the series' episodes, but none of these things were confirmed at Comic-Con. The show will be exclusively available on Disney's new Disney Plus service, which launches on November 12th, but isn't expected to be part of the initial offerings. Instead, due out sometime in the fall of 2020. So we've got quite a wait for this show. But yeah, see, this might be interesting. Like I said, I've said from the beginning, this show does bear interest for me because I honestly love Anthony Mackie as the Falcon. I think you're asking a lot of him to try to fill the shoes of Captain America, because Captain America is Steve Rogers, but I still love the Falcon. I've always said that, but my favorite black superhero is the Falcon. And the Winter Soldier is also a great character, and I'd love to see more of these two together. And if they're actually going to have Zemo become Baron Zemo with the purple mask, that would be great. A lot of things you're going to hear me say during this, the remainder of this hour, is how I wish they would have done some of this when we had the actual, Chris Evans, Captain America, and the actual Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man. In this case, I would have really loved to have seen Zemo in the purple mask and stuff, and be a hated rival of Captain America back when it was the Steve Rogers Captain America. But, they can only do so much, I suppose, with all these actors under contract. You think they could probably stitch something up like that. All right, next up, let's see. We have Hawkeye. Hawkeye, the mini-series, I suppose. Let's see. Marvel Studios is dropping all sorts of bombs on the San Diego Comic-Con, including confirmation of the long-awaited Hawkeye TV series. During the panel, Kevin Feige confirmed that the Hawkeye series will be headed to the Disney streaming service and will stream in the fall of 2021. Boy, these guys, they're planning like really far out ahead. That's another thing that's smart for them, is they want to keep this stuff in the public mind. They don't want to just rely on the movies, which is cool. The series will follow Clint Barton, Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner, training a young Kate Bishop to be an ace archer. The role of Kate has yet to be cast. The series will also reportedly further explore Clint's time as Ronin within the 5-year gap between Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. All right, so that's kind of interesting. Is it going to be set in between in the 5-year gap? That might be interesting in order to fill in some of the story on what was going on during that period, the post Infinity War period. I don't know though. I mean, that to me is not Hawkeye. That's Ronin. So this is a Hawkeye series. Might be too dark to just have him take on Kate Bishop as a mentor when he's Ronin. Let's see. The series has been on the wish list of many Marvel fans for quite some time. Was reported to be in development earlier this year. Now that Clint has made it out of the events of Avengers Endgame, it sounds like the Hawkeye series will bring a new chapter for Hom. It should say him. I won't say garbage tier. With Endgame, I think with any ending, it creates a new beginning for a lot of things. Marvel has a lot of plans for a lot of things. So it was exciting, Renner said during a convention appearance earlier this year. But to sum up, 21 films is very difficult. I think it satiates a lot of the fans. I'm only here because of the fans, as we all are. Hopefully, I feel like we satiate a lot of people. Satiate, I guess, pronunciation. And a lot of people had to go. But then I think it creates new beginnings for other things. There are some things I can talk about and some things I can't still, Renner said of his post-Endgame MCU future. So again, this sounds like he is going to be sticking around for a while at least. But again, I don't know a lot about Kate Bishop. I didn't read I stopped reading comics in the early 2000s because they weren't my cup of tea then, and things have only gotten progressively worse in the following 10 years or in the following 5 years. But yeah, there you have it. Hawkeye, he's training his successor. What are you gonna say? Hopefully, he still has some arrows in the quiver, as they say. Next up, we have WandaVision. WandaVision. During Marvel's Comic-Con panel, the company announced additional details concerning its upcoming Vision and Scarlet Witch series entitled WandaVision. Marvel confirmed the series will launch in spring of 2021. Again, quite a ways away. A logo was shown that features retro TV, neon cursive font, and Feige said, if you thought that logo was strange, wait until you see this show. Okay. The Vision and Scarlet Witch takes place after Endgame. Oh, that's interesting. So, what does that say about the Vision? Is he coming back, or is this just like Wanda going psycho on us or something? She's going to go schizo nuts, maybe? I'm not sure. That's interesting. I didn't think it was going to be taking place after Endgame. The series will also feature Monica Rambeau as an adult. The character will be played by Tiona Paris. I'm so excited to be here. I'm shaking, she said. This is a dream to be a Marvel superhero. Monica Rambeau. So that's pretty cool, too. Because we all knew that the reason why they introduced her in Captain Marvel was because she was going to come. I don't know if she's going to become Captain Marvel. Uh, I think it would make more sense if they named her one of her other identities. I'm not sure which one it was. I mean, you know, it's either that or we'd have to wait until Captain Marvel, the Brie Larson version, retires, which is not going to be anytime soon. But I would have her be a different character, whatever. Was it Photon, something like that? One of the names of the characters, and that would be fun to see her as a superhero. As I said, back when I was a kid, she was the Captain Marvel when I was a kid, Monica Rambeau, and I didn't like her because I wanted the original Carol Danvers Captain Marvel, but she, of course, was Ms. Marvel back then. But they wrote her out in such a, bizarre fashion that it would take years before they would redeem the character of Carol Danvers. And then, of course, they ruined her again in recent times, making her sort of like this weird androgynous feminist. She always was a feminist. I always say that, though. So that's interesting. I don't know if that's going to be a springboard for bringing that version of Captain Marvel out, or is that just going to be maybe she's just going to be in her civilian identity? Maybe she will be Photon or something else. I don't know. Let's see. Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany also appeared on stage to discuss the show. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to get weird. We're going to go deep. We're going to have a lot of surprises, and we will finally understand Wanda Maximoff as the Scarlet Witch, said Olsen. That's interesting. That's why I like the idea of this show the most, because I think, I don't know if I'd get any heat for saying this, but I don't think the Scarlet Witch can carry a movie, but I do think that there is a lot more to tell with this character, and I really want to see a lot more of her. And we'll talk about that in a minute because we are going to see more of her. But I really want to see more Scarlet Witch, and I'm hopefully going to get some more Vision as well. Vision, I've always said, is sort of a tough pill to swallow. I think they did a lot of good with him post Age of Ultron, but that weird sort of, I don't want to say pretentious, but I want to say pretentious version of the character really turns me off. But they did sort of humanize him into something a little more that I recall from the comics in a post Ultron movies. But anyway, that sounds a lot of that sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think that's the show to really kick this Disney Plus thing into high gear. Bettany, meanwhile, seemed a bit out of sorts. I've never been this confused in front of this many people in my whole life, but I hope you love it, he said. Oh, gee. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Given Vision's destruction in Infinity War, it stands to reason that Vision and Scarlet Witch acts as a prequel to the conclusion of the MCU's third phase of movies, most likely taking place between the events of Civil War and Infinity War. But no, didn't you just say in this same article that it's going to be taking place? Let me read this over. Let's see, garbage here. Let me go over this again. Let's see. No, I think maybe I'm thinking of Hawkeye, but I guess this is a prequel then. I'm not sure. Vision and Scarlet Witch is being penned by Jack Schrafer, who's also the writer assigned to the upcoming Black Widow movie. Okay, so there you have it. There's your WandaVision, and hopefully it works out because I like to see more of them characters. Okay. Is this the last one? I think this is the last of the Disney Plus shows. Loki. Oh yes. Okie dokie Loki. Loki will be taking place after Endgame. Now this is interesting. I've got a mea culpa to cop to. Mea culpa. I said anybody that believes that Loki escaping from in the end game was going to have anything to do with the show was kidding themselves, because once Cap brought back the stones, that was supposed to be the end of it. It was supposed to put the timeline back on track. Not so. So I guess I owe you guys an apology. I said you guys were way off base, with this idea. I know Sean Chandler said this as well, and I was like, nah, I mean, I don't think this is even possible. But no, this looks like this is where they're going with this. So my bad. You guys were right. I'll admit it when I'm wrong. Doesn't happen very often, thankfully. Let's see. The series will tell you what happened to Loki right after that, after the end game exit, Feige said at the panel. Walking into thunderous applause. Thunder. Is that a joke? Was that supposed to be a joke? Tom Hiddleston took the hall. To set the record straight, the series does not star the reformed Loki we saw in Ragnarok. Instead, it's the truly mischievous version seen in the Avengers. Well, that's the one we all want, right? Like I said on Twitter, I think, they kind of were running out of things to do with Loki in the Thor series. This might be just the place for him. This might be what he needs to kind of be an interesting character again. We can kind of make him a little more sinister, more mischievous. I don't know if this is going to be just a flat out comedy either. I'm not sure, because they brought a lot of that to Ragnarok, right? So I don't know. We'll see. All right. So that, I believe, looking at my notes quickly here, I believe that wraps up all the Disney Plus shows. So let's start talking about some of the movies now in Phase 4 that they were talking about. See, I knew this was going to be a long episode because we've got a lot of stuff to unpack. But we are getting to it a little bit at a time. All right, we'll talk about the Eternals now. Again, this is a property I know very little about. they could tell me it was about Alvin, Simon, and Theodore going to the moon or something, and I would believe them because I don't know a whole lot about the Eternals. Just like I didn't know a lot about Guardians of the Galaxy, and that turned out to be good. So again, this could be, something I'm really gonna dig at some point, but I really have no interest in this. Here we go. Let's take a look. Comic-Con saw Marvel Comics announce the Eternals movie with a cast and release date. Eternals will be released November 6th, 2020. Directed by Chloe Zhao, starring Angelina Jolie as Thena, Richard Madden as Icarus, Kumnal Najini as Kingo, Lauren Ridloff as Macquarie. It'd be interesting to see if I got any of these names right. Brian Tyree Henry as Fastos. Fastos? He's on a Fastos cleanse. Selma Hayek. Oh, the lovely Selma Hayek as Ajak. Leah McHugh as Sprite. That's the little girl. I remember her. I thought I remembered her from the comics, but then I remembered, no, I think Sprite was actually the name of Kitty Pryde when she first came out. They changed her name 1,000 times in the X-Men, I think. I think first she was Kitty Pryde, then she was Sprite, then she was Ariel, and then she was Kitty Pryde again. I'm pretty sure that's how it went. I'm not sure. Oh, and Don Lee as Gilgamesh. I've heard about his flood. So, yeah, there you go. All right, Eternals is filming in London. It's about this group of incredible immortals, but through their journey, we really get to explore what it means to be human and humanity on our time on this planet, director Zhao said. Madden added, the Eternals are a race of immortal aliens sent to Earth by the Celestials to protect humankind from the deviants. Gotta watch those deviants. There's a lot of them in Hollywood. Lauren Ridloff also revealed through sign language that she is playing the first deaf character in the MCU. Again, this is a lot of, the first this and the first that. That's you're going to hear that a lot from this Comic-Con this year. It was a lot of the firsts. Selma Hayek also added about their director and player, the leader of the Eternals. That doesn't really make much sense. Selma Hayek also added about their director and player, the leader of the Eternals. I take my inspiration from our leader, Chloe, who's also a strong woman, and takes a strong woman to do a movie like this because it's so big and amazing. And I'm so excited to be part of it. The way she approaches leadership as a woman, as a strong woman, is that she sees them as a family. So there's a lot of mother instincts in this Eternal who is not supposed to have kids. So this is very exciting, and I feel very honored to be a part of a movie that is going to allow people who never felt represented in superheroes, or in this case, Eternals, represented, because I am proud to have a diverse family. Again, a lot of wokeness there. Let me take a sip while I ponder over the virtue signaling. All right. All right, it's cool. And any of you is wondering, that's just water, just H2O we're going with today. Let's see. Angelina Jolie also said, I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to work 10 times harder because I think what it means to be a part of the MCU, what it means to be an Eternal, to be a part of this family. I know what we all need to do. We have all read the script. We have all know the task. That's again garbage tier. Maybe she said it like this. I'm not sure. Angelina been nipping a little bit before making the speech. Okay. We have all know what the task ahead is, and we are all going to be working very hard. I'm training. I'm thrilled. Thank you so much. McHugh will be playing one of the oldest members in the Eternals. Don Lee also said, I can't wait to show you the power of Gilgamesh. When asked who would win in a battle, Gilgamesh or the Hulk, Lee asked, is Mark Ruffalo here? He then answered it was his character who is the strongest. Now, no, I got to take issue with Don Lee right here. Hulk is strongest there is. Hulk is the strongest one there is by his own admission. So, I'm sorry, you're wrong. Okay, let's see. That's about it. Yeah, that's all we got on the Eternals. Are you interested in this? I don't know. Like I said, I hope it's good. I don't know. It seems to me like it's just it's sort of like endless virtue signaling. The Eternals seem to be. They basically were saying that was going to be our our woke movie with it's going to be the first gay character. It's going to be the first deaf person. It's going to be women directing. It's going to be all that great stuff. But really, does anybody really care about the Eternals? Let me know. Do you really care about the Eternals? All right, here's a movie that I'm see, like I said, going back and forth here on these. I don't care about the Eternals, but I do care about this next one. I think this will be an interesting film to see. This is interestingly titled as well, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, this is kind of interesting to me. Now, I won't go like I won't go saying I'm this huge Shang-Chi fan. I'm kind of familiar with him in the comics. So he is basically what their answer was to Kung Fu back in the 70s, an answer to Bruce Lee being popular. The same way that, Luke Cage was sort of an answer to the blaxploitation films and stuff going on in the 70s. That's kind of what Shang-Chi is. It was like, let's get a Kung Fu master and have him, kick butt in the comics. And I think he's an interesting character, but it depends how they handle him. Now, I give them props that they're not just going to completely and totally drop the Mandarin from Iron Man 3. This is sort of their, woke way of dealing with the Mandarin, because they couldn't have the Mandarin in Iron Man 3 because they were worried about a stereotype. They were worried about, again, they were kind of trying to like change the storyline from having the Mandarin be an Asian character to being a Arabian character, because again, the storyline changed for Iron Man, having to bring it up to modern times. You can't have Vietnam be the catalyst for Iron Man's creation. So, I didn't really know what form the Mandarin would take, but this kind of makes sense to me. They are going to keep the Mandarin Asian, and they are going to deal with him in Shang-Chi. Now, this is kind of like going back to what I was saying about Captain America. I would have rather seen Steve Rogers deal with Zemo, because he was a main villain for Captain America. I mean, I know the Red Skull is, and they dropped the ball on that too. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they didn't do anything between Captain America and the Red Skull post First Avenger. They really should have had them, battle each other. I think maybe even if they didn't battle each other and they just dealt with each other on the planet there for the Soul Stone, that might have been interesting as well. But again, they just like dropped the ball there. Here, at least they're gonna pick up that thread, that plot thread, and we're gonna have the Ten Rings finally be, the original Ten Rings be dealt with, and the Mandarin. Okay, so we have a cast now, or at least a couple members of the cast announced. Marvel Studios announced Chinese Canadian actor Simu Liu will be starring as the titular character in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Hong Kong actor Tony Ling Chi Wai will be playing classic Marvel villain the Mandarin. I don't understand what I really don't. It looks like I got two names there. I think it's Tony Ling. I don't think it's anything else. But anyhow, yeah. So this is pretty exciting. This is interesting. Shang-Chi will be released February 12th, 2021. It'll be directed by Destin Daniel Cretton and written by Dave Callahan, also starring Awafina. I don't know who she is or who that is or whatever. I probably should have got some better notes for Shang-Chi, because they don't seem to give me very much information here at all. But again, this is one of the ones I can see myself seeing. If it's a good trailer, I'm there. But again, it's like, I'm not going to pretend like I'm excited about a lot of these films. And in this case, it's like I said, it's a very transitory time. It's like, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for Shang-Chi, but it's like, you got to show me something. You know what I mean? I can't really see myself getting worked up to go to the theater to see Shang-Chi if it's not going to be top notch, And I think MCU are trying to keep it top notch by making it, you know, tied into the Mandarin and stuff. It's not going to be just like some unknown dude that he's going to go up against that you have to be like hardcore into Shang-Chi comics to know. We got the Mandarin. I'm in. I'll be excited to see that, but just show me that you're doing it right. Show me that you're doing it right. Again, this is another thing before we move on. This is another thing where the MCU is getting it right as well, where they're not forcing diversity in a case like this. We always say, those of us who are like purists and don't want to have the diversity card foisted on us, is give us an honest to goodness diverse superhero and give him his own movie. That's why Black Panther was so successful, because you didn't have people complaining that, oh, they're messing it up. The purists and the normies both loved it, because the purists say, look, that is Black Panther, that is represented perfectly. And I can see the same thing here, where they're not taking a white character and they're not trying to, like was so much of a much ado about Iron Fist. And it's like, well, why does Iron Fist have to be white? Because, dude, he was white in the comics, you know? So go get Shang-Chi, do the Shang-Chi movie. Leave Iron Fist alone. Leave Iron Fist white. You don't have to make a mess out of these characters by race bending and gender changing characters and so forth. Give us the characters that do exist. And if you don't feel there's enough, create some new ones. But by all means, don't like just completely, decimate the casting of these other things. Like, for instance, the Fantastic Four. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But you just don't want to do that and then expect to have fans continue to follow you and be successful. It doesn't work. All right, so let's move on here. But this is you want to know what my favorite part of the Comic-Con was, or what I'm most looking forward to. This is the one. Now I'm excited about this. I'm excited about this. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This sounds boss. This is dope. This is all the stuff that the cool kids talk about. Now, I've been saying for a long time, a lot of people are sleeping on Doctor Strange. I think he's a great character. I love the way Benedict Cumberbatch plays him. Um, he's sort of like all there and all with it, but then again, he could still be a little snarky still. I think he's cool. I just love the way he does it. And he was sort of like, people like slept on Doctor Strange during his original movie, and I think also when he was in Infinity War. I think a lot of people saw what he had to offer. You know what I'm saying? I think that the audience is there for Doctor Strange. I think they could really jazz it up and make him do some really cool, funky stuff. And of course, we've got the Scarlet Witch is going to be brought in for this film as well. So it's fun to see that they're not just abandoning these other characters. They're going to bring them in as side characters. Now, there's a couple of other things that bug me, like, well, we'll talk about that later. We'll get into this, because this is something I'm actually looking forward to. This is the one, like I said, I'm really excited for. I'm going to be there. I'm really looking forward to this one. Let's see. The Multiverse of Madness. Now, this again sounds really exciting, because it sounds like he's going to be dealing with stuff that only he can deal with. That's what's one of the good things about Doctor Strange. He's not like a Spider-Man or Iron Man or something where you can just plug a superhero into that scenario. He's the only one that can deal with a multiverse of madness. And will it drive him mad? Maybe it will. All right, let's see. The sequel will feature Elizabeth Olsen, who reprises as Scarlet Witch, and that her Disney series WandaVision will directly lead to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. All right, so she starts off probably having problems in WandaVision and really going crazy, messing things up, and then she has to go to Doctor Strange to help untangle this mess. That's what I think will happen anyway. It sounds really exciting, and this is what I'm really looking forward to. I must have said that 3 times already, but really, it's pretty cool. Benedict Cumberbatch was also present at Comic-Con. Let's see. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness will fight villains from across the multiverse. It will dip into the gothic and horror. The first scary MCU film. That's interesting. That's interesting. How do you bill it as a scary film? I mean, what is this going to be, like it's not a horror film. They're not calling it a horror film, but a scary film. I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know. Let's see. Doctor Strange will be destroyed a bit. And Scott Derrickson, the director, said, just because Quentin Beck made up lies about the multiverse doesn't mean it isn't real. Let's see. He'll be facing unexpected things. I think he'll be in a position rather like the audience of not knowing what's coming at him. said Cumberbatch. There was a lot of authority, I thought, in the Avengers iteration. So we're going back to destroy him, I think. They're going to destroy Doctor Strange. I don't know. The flick gets released May 7th, 2021. So again, this is pretty exciting. This is exciting news to me anyway. What do you think about Doctor Strange Madness in the Multiverse? I don't know. I think it's gonna be pretty exciting. I have a feeling it's probably gonna be the MCU version of what they're doing over on Legion, and I think Legion is kind of that's another reason why they're wrapping up because I don't think they want the competition. But yeah, Cumberbatch, Olsen, Doctor Strange, Scarlet Witch, Madness. I don't know. It sounds good to me. All right, now we're rounding down here now. Let's see. We've got the Black Widow. Let's talk about Black Widow. New Black Widow film. All right, let's see. Marvel Studios announced the release date for the Black Widow movie, which it will be released May 1st, 2020. So that one's the first up. That's not too far away. That's cool. Kate Shortland is directing the movie, which also stars Rachel Weisz as Melina. Melina, the old gypsy woman. No, the way you walked with thorny. I think I already did this joke sometime when they first when they first released that bit of casting news. Okay, Stranger Things. David Harbour as Alexei, O.T. Fagbenel as Mason, and Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova. Which, of course, like I said, I think is going to be the subsequent Scarlet Witch. Let's see. Scarlett Johansson said, I don't think I could have played this iteration of Natasha 10 years ago. It would have been a very different film. I get to play Natasha as a fully realized woman in all of her many facets. I'm excited for fans to see the flawed side of her, what she perceives to be the flawed side of her. And I'm looking to wipe out some of that red in my ledger. So you guys will be seeing a lot of that. That sounds really, really cool. See, now this is one I'm really looking forward to. But again, as I said, this is going to be a passing of the torch movie. Why don't we get 3 Black Widow movies? Why not? There's an audience there. They're going to want to see Black Widow, especially if they're going to try to make Captain Marvel the face of the MCU going forward. They really owe it to Scarlett Johansson to, finish out her trilogy. I don't know if Johansson maybe is interested in it, but I think they should at least offer it to her. Florence Pugh describes her character, Yelena, as a sister figure to Natasha, while Fagbenel plays a contact from Black Widow's past. There's a kind of romantic undercurrent. I'm going crazy having to read so much today. There's kind of a romantic undercurrent, Fagbenel said. At least I'm kind of into her. So you know what that means. That I guess they are going to let like a token guy fawn all over her, which is like something they don't allow. Captain Marvel being an example, a prime example. But they're not gonna let Black Widow have a guy. They're not gonna let Black Widow have a fella. But then again, I don't think really it would be appropriate at this point. I mean, like I always said, what I always wanted from a Black Widow solo movie was the Red Guardian. I wanted to see like an old flame from Natasha's past that would have had something to do with her, that she's married to him or something. That would have been so cool. They're not going to do that, though. They're not going to give her a romantic relationship. They're not going to have her, not that it would be a serious relationship, but they're not going to have her feeling something for another guy. You know what I mean? It's like, if it was another woman, maybe. I don't know. I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen here with Yelena. But eventually, like I said, what's going to bring this film down to me is that it's going to end probably with her passing the baton. Now, they're going to have to explain where Yelena has been during she could have been snapped, maybe. That might have been it. But they're going to have to explain why we should put her into the new roster of this, like, new Avengers that they're building up, which there isn't an official Avengers movie for the 4th phase, but it's going to kind of have to go there at some point. Let's see. Rachel Wise said, "What is more exciting than the mythology of the Marvel Universe? There is nothing more exciting and escapist and interesting." Well, so far anyway. I don't know how it's going to be going forward, but I would agree with that sentiment so far. But also, they've really put at the forefront really strong, powerful female characters, and Kate Shortland, our director, and working alongside Scarlett and Florence, two incredibly powerful characters. Melina, my character, is a pretty tough chick. David and OT are pretty awesome too. I love men as well as women. Okay. All right. I'll take your word for it. That's fine. Let's see. The first footage from Black Widow also dropped, revealing Taskmaster as the villain. All right. So let's take a look at that. I've got that image here. Let's see. Say goodbye to the lovely Scarlett Johansson for a moment. And we'll see sort of an artist rendering here of this is Black Widow versus the Taskmaster. Like I said, I always wanted to see the Taskmaster in live action. And it looks pretty good. I mean, they got the skull face kind of. He's got sunglasses on, which I could do without, but I think they're using this as sort of just like a metal faceplate. And I imagine they did give him the shield, so they are going to probably, they're going to tie into references of Captain America. I imagine that he studied Captain America's movements and so forth. And they look like they're fighting on a bridge or something. So this is interesting. Again, I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to this one. This is another one I'm really looking forward to. But again, it's going to be sort of like an end game situation where most of these shows and films are going to end with the hero or heroine in this case sort of passing the baton, and it's going to be a bittersweet phase if that's the way it's going to be, if they can't keep anybody around. Well, in the case of Black Widow, again, they made the choice to do away with her, so there's not much we could do about that, I guess. But in this case, let's talk about, yeah, let's finally get around to it. This is the one that everybody seems to be heralding. Thor, Love and Thunder. What do you think of that title? Let's see. Thor, Love and Thunder. Now, it was revealed just before that, just before Comic-Con, that Taika Waititi was coming back and Thor was getting a fourth movie. I don't know. I'm feeling sort of conflicted about this. I know a lot of people hated Ragnarok. I liked it, but I realized that they really didn't do justice to what they could have done with Thor and made it an epic adventure. The way they dealt with it was more like, look, we've got to get, Anthony Hopkins, we got to get his scene in, deal with him, get him out. We got to deal with, what are we going to do with Loki and kind of write him out, and what are we going to do with Thor because his movies are not really doing that good, and well, we get the Hulk hanging around, let's put him in. So I think basically for what it is, which is a hodgepodge of, you know, all kinds of stuff that needed to be dealt with, it worked, I think. I don't know if they could do it again though, because the restraints are off now. Now it's like we're not just doing sort of that goofy kind of 80s kind of techno crazy fantasy. Now we're doing sort of the woke Marvel. You know what I mean? I wanted to confirm that Thor would be on the Jenny Craig diet before this movie and between this film and Guardians 3. No such luck, though. I don't know. Is he still going to be the object of ridicule in this film? That's my biggest concern. Are they going to continually ridicule Thor and make him, overweight, make him sort of, unworthy, and that's why he's not going to be quote unquote Thor anymore? Can I talk about that for a second? Because I hear everybody and their brother talking about this. She shouldn't be called Lady Thor because she is Thor, the mighty Thor. But then again, Thor is Thor's name. It's not a title. But then again, the enchantment, so to speak, that's on Mjolnir is whosoever can lift the hammer shall be given the power of Thor. So shouldn't you have the title Thor somewhere in your title? I don't know. I would say Lady Thor is it's about as fitting a moniker as you can give her. But again, it's a real weird thing. Now, this is where we were talking about it earlier. You know, this is the wokeness. This is a storyline that went on in the comics for the last, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. A lot of people didn't like it. Jane Foster, the longtime girlfriend of Thor, off and on, and she ended up getting the power of Thor. Apparently dying of cancer. I don't know if they're going to use that storyline. I don't think so with Taika Waititi and the kind of goofiness that they're trying to bring to Thor, sort of a Guardians of the Galaxy light, and that becoming Lady Thor would prolong her life or something. I don't know. But again, it's just replacing a beloved character, a beloved cis white male character with another token. And you see, back in the day when we had comics and you had things like this happen, it was sort of the idea was sort of, well, we got to come up with something different. We got to shake up the book. The book is getting stale. So let's have Tony Stark become an alcoholic. We'll have Rhodey come in. He'll wear the Iron Man suit. We'll do that for a year. Then Tony gets, straight, gets back in the suit, and we'll make Rhodey War Machine. But the problem is nowadays they don't do that. They don't even, you know, attempt to consider these virtue signaling characters placeholders, because that's what they were. Rhodey was a placeholder, and then he became his own hero. In this case, it's like, well, we want to make Jane Foster Thor, and, and that's your Thor now. No, there's no other Thor. We're not going to make her Lady Thor. We're not going to make her Thorette. We're not going to make her, Thor, sidekick to Thor. We're going to make her Thor. And, it's the same thing with like Captain America. Is like, well, now we're giving the shield to Sam Wilson. Now he's Captain America. Forget about the fact that he was the Falcon. It's like, instead of trying to supersede the original character, why can't you just give them their own identity and just carry on? Now, of course, this could be a possibility, but I'm very strongly aware of the fact that they probably gave Hemsworth like maybe 3 more films. He's going to do Guardians 3. He's going to do Thor: Love and Thunder, and then I don't know. Maybe he'll have one more appearance somewhere. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, maybe it was a 2-film deal. I think they did that with Robert Downey Jr., didn't they? They gave him a 2-film deal, and then he came back for like another 3-film deal or something. So I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I don't really see the Thor franchise continuing on with Chris Hemsworth. At least that's not the way they're portraying this. They're portraying this as, very woke, very virtue signaling, where now there she is, Natalie Portman is going to take the mantle of Thor. That's just it now. She's Thor. And again, this is this is cute. She looks like, she's up at the high school prom or something, and she's getting dubbed, the best the best in the school library that can fix the toner on the, the printing machine or something. And this is what it feels like to me. This doesn't feel like a superhero thing. And it doesn't feel like, I don't know. I don't get this. I really don't. So, and a lot of people are making fun of Natalie Portman, that she's a very diminutive woman. You know what I mean? She's not big and muscular and everything, but I don't think she should have to be big and muscular. They're saying, oh, she's going to be put on a training regimen and this and that. Nah, just leave her alone. Just leave her alone. She's, she doesn't need to look butch in order to be a superhero. I mean, that was one of the things I always said about Wonder Woman. A lot of people complained about Gal Gadot, and I never had a problem with the fact that she was, I mean, on the thin side, let us say, that she wasn't muscular. It's just that that's what people seem to see. They think they need to see, bulging biceps, and on a woman that just doesn't really fly. That doesn't go. All right, so again, this is questionable. I mean, I'm not really excited about this, but in the same token, I'm glad they went back to Natalie Portman, because I didn't like that they just dumped Natalie Portman after Thor: The Dark World. She was supposedly not happy being Jane Foster. I don't know if she's not happy being Natalie Portman. I think she is. I think she's okay with that. But she wasn't happy with being Jane Foster, and supposedly the powers that be were like, we really don't know what to do with Jane Foster, seeing as how we made them like these betrothed characters, because in the comics they were the item, is the Superman's Lois Lane, the Mary Jane's Peter Parker. It was Thor and Jane, and they didn't know what to do with her, and they sort of just like unceremoniously just said, okay, they broke up, between movies. They kind of broke up and things happened, and yeah, she's doing her own thing, sort of doing the science thing. But so I'm glad they brought her back and they actually made it Natalie Portman as Jane Foster and didn't kind of mess that up. I liked her as Jane Foster. I thought it was a cool romance. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that they did a good job showing that, Thor's like a beefcake, and Jane's like basically any other gal that's interested in a good-looking dude. And it's like that's not enough these days. You gotta have some kind of, I don't know. I honestly don't know what people have a problem with their relationship. I thought it was cool. Anyway, let me read the copy here about what went down. Let's see. Thor: Love and Thunder gets released November 5th, 2021, directed by Taika Waititi, starring Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, and Natalie Portman. Again, they didn't mention Sif. I still don't know what's going on with Lady Sif. They haven't talked about her. I wouldn't be surprised if she's in this, though, because I think they're trying to do the whole female empowerment angle with Thor. But where would you put her in the story? I don't know. I mean, shouldn't she be wanting to be Thor? I don't know. Let's see. It's confirmed that Natalie Portman will play the female Thor. Valkyrie will also make New Asgard open for anyone, any refugee. Oh, see, here we go. Here's the woke stuff. I'm not particularly interested in that. Let's see. Actress Tessa Thompson hinted that her character Valkyrie will be involved in an LGBTQ storyline in the fourth Thor movie. She was pushing for that in Ragnarok, if I remember correctly, and they did sort of a offhand scene that didn't make the final cut. I guess she was supposed to be in love with the original Valkyrie, the Swiss Miss looking Valkyrie that should have been in this film before they did a unique race swap there. Let's see. When asked what her character will be up to in the film, Thompson told the audience, I think first of all, as new king, she needs to find her queen. That'll be her first order of business. She has some ideas. Keep you posted. Oh boy, I can't wait to see this film now. I honestly can't wait to see this film. Valkyrie is going to find a girlfriend. Boy, I don't know about you, but that's what I go to a Thor movie to see. Honestly. So, again, I think, is Tessa Thompson lesbian? I think she is. That's probably why this is so important to her, that they foist this angle on the film. I really don't even need to see Valkyrie again. She didn't make that big of an impression on me. Because I don't really know what does this mean? Does that mean she's going to be falling for Jane Foster? I mean, the whole thing honestly sounds like a mess. I mean, I'd like to say I got faith in Taika Waititi, but I mean, I kind of feel like they just barely held it together with Ragnarok. You know what I mean? I don't have like the strong opinion on Ragnarok. I mean, it wasn't the greatest film ever, and it wasn't a disaster. And I honestly, one of my top 5 the top 5 MCU films is the original Thor. And I'm one of the few that say The Dark World is a good movie. I mean, people will usually have that, like, whatever, 21st on their list. It'll be last or next to last. I actually like The Dark World. I don't think it's terrible. I mean, it's not a masterpiece, but it's not terrible. So I don't know really where they're going with this. It's just I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. All right, so the film set to be released November 2021, starring Chris Hemsworth as a return as the Norse god and Natalie Portman as the female Thor. What do you think about this? Is this something you want to see? Baby, take a bow. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know what to make of it. Could be okay. I probably will see it. I mean, I don't know if I could say it's a disaster in the making, but it's just, man, why can't they just leave things alone? They kept Chris Hemsworth around. Let him be Thor. All right, and so finally we got the big news here. We got the big news they say for the end. Blade is back. Yes, Blade is back, baby. And let's see. He is going to be played by, let me see if I can say his name right. Mahershala Ali. Now, if you don't remember, if he looks familiar to you, of course, Mahershala Ali was Cottonmouth in the Luke Cage first season, and he was very good at that. It says here, Marvel Studios Kevin Feige announced that the two-time Academy Award winner Ali would be playing the vampire hunter Blade in a new solo movie set within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's see. Ali actually pitched the film to Feige. So, the only reason why Ali got the role is because he asked for it. Basically, he told Feige, "Look, I got an idea for the Blade movie. You want to do a Blade movie? This is what we'll do, and I'll play Blade." So, cagey stuff there from Ali, from Mahershala Ali. Let's see. Feige revealed Ali called Marvel after winning the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in Green Book earlier this year and set up a meeting with the Marvel team. When Mahershala calls, you answer, said Feige, and revealed that at the meeting, Ali was very upfront about his desire to make a new Blade movie. All right. Again, he's a good actor. I mean, I remember him from Luke Cage. I don't think I've seen him in anything else. He says he's a two-time Academy Award winner. I don't remember the other thing. I remember, obviously, the last one he just won. But I don't know. Does he look like Blade, really? I mean, see, Wesley Snipes put such an impression on Blade that it's kind of hard to see anybody else but him. But, they were never going to bring Wesley Snipes back. They never were going to. I hate to let you down. Let me let you down easy. They were never going to bring Wesley Snipes back because he's a pain in the keister to work with. Kevin Feige was producer during those Blade movies. And he made it hell on the set for David Goyer and pretty much all involved. He didn't want to come out of his trailer. He would only be addressed as Blade. He wouldn't be addressed as Wesley Snipes. All kinds of other stuff that soured Hollywood on him. At least I think the MCU, at least Feige and his people, they were not going to bring Snipes back. Nor really should they have. I don't necessarily think you needed to bring him back. I mean, I think, like I said, he made an indelible mark on the character, but I don't know. See, I'm not really a big Blade guy to begin with because it's kind of horror. It's a horror thing. And I know a lot of people are going to want this to be rated R, and they're already speculating, is this the first rated R Marvel Studios project? I hope it's not, so I could actually maybe be interested in it. But I don't like a lot of gore, and I don't like a lot of violence and stuff that's graphic. So I don't know. I mean, this is another one of those where maybe, maybe not. This might be something I'd be interested in seeing. Maybe, maybe not, depending on what they show me. They got to prove it to me. They got to show me first. So let me know what you think in the comments below about the Blade motion picture that is apparently in the works, starring Mahershala Ali. And before we wrap up here, before we wrap it up, let's talk about some of the things that didn't make the cut because, that's something else I want to talk about before we actually talk about that. We're talking about Mahershala Ali playing Blade. He already played Cottonmouth. This happened once before where a Marvel Netflix actor played another part in an MCU movie. It was also from Luke Cage. It was I'm gonna forget the actress's name now, but you know her, Black Mariah. She was in that, and then she had a small part in Civil War. And some people are like, well, it's just two actors playing two different parts. It's not a big deal. It's like Chris Evans playing Human Torch and playing Captain America. No. They're two different things. They're two completely different things. The MCU had nothing to do with those Fantastic Four movies. It had nothing to do with the Chris Evans Human Torch. He could have been playing Spock of Vulcan, and it wouldn't have been any closer to what they were doing over in the MCU. You know, it didn't matter. This was supposed to be under the umbrella of the MCU. Luke Cage was supposed to be under the umbrella of the MCU. So I am getting the feeling that between this and the other casting with Black Mariah, I think that they are pretty much telling that, look, we're not considering them canon anymore. They have their fans, the Netflix shows. I like the casting, but I was never a huge fan of those shows. So I mean, I'm not gonna feign sorrow and play a violin, but you know, it is kind of sad, I guess, in a way that they're gonna just like completely part ways with them. I don't think they consider that completely under the umbrella of the MCU. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is like basically kissing any chance of Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Daredevil. I think it's kissing them goodbye. I think that's it. All right, so let's talk for a second about what wasn't revealed. There's a lot that wasn't talked about. The main one that bothered me was no Ant-Man 3. No, that's not a priority for Marvel these days. They're going to say, oh, it's because the movies didn't really make, you know, big money, and it's, you know, I think it's just that they're focusing so much on the wokeness, focusing on wokeness, that they really don't have a place for Ant-Man. I mean, there's only so much you can do with the Wasp. Because I always said the Wasp is a great character as well, and she's a female character. That's a great place to start for this woke MCU. Obviously, it's not that important to them. I don't know what they have planned, but it's not going to be a solo Ant-Man movie. Probably for this whole phase. I mean, of course, there's always the possibility that, you know, these guys got the long game planned, but again, you know, we were talking about waiting another 3 years. It's kind of a long, long game to have to not use these characters again. So hopefully at some point, Ant-Man 3 is in the works. Be sure to write your congressman and tell them. Also, they didn't say anything about a Spider-Man 3, which I don't think I would expect them to, because they have, you know, they have the Sony deal that needs to be ironed out, and I don't know if they actually have the rights for one more Spider-Man film. They might have to renegotiate on that. So again, that's not a big surprise, but they didn't mention Spider-Man. Um, let's see. They didn't talk a lot about Guardians 3 and some of the other things that we know are coming, like Black Panther 2 and Guardians 3, Black Panther 2, and Captain Marvel 2. They didn't talk a lot about that. They didn't talk about X-Men. Kevin Feige did mention we didn't talk about mutants. Didn't say anything about X-Men. Didn't say anything about X-Men. That's X-Mam to you, because we already talked about how that's a controversial term, X-Men now. Excuse me. So yeah, that doesn't bode well for the X-Men going forward. Although I've always said, you gotta be careful you don't ruin these things. You gotta put X-Men on a lunchbox. You know what I mean? Changing that is going to be tough for them. I don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to monkey with the name, but they probably will try to. They're going to get woke on it somehow. They're going to virtue single that name somehow. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to try to do it. I mean, I think it's going to be kind of the same thing they did with Supergirl, where it's like, that's the trademark. That's kind of what you have to work with. But let's kind of address it so that, you know, the movie, they're going to have some kind of scene where they're going to have to deliberate about that, and it's going to have to show, sort of like in Supergirl, where I'm not offended by that. Are you? No, no, I guess it's okay. Yeah, we'll call it that. You know, and they're going to do some kind of nonsense in order to, you know, get it past the woke censor. Can you believe the censorship nowadays that we have to deal with when it comes to superhero films? I can't believe it. Speaking of that, the big question is going to be the Fantastic Four. They mentioned the Fantastic Four. That, again, that's something that's in the works, that it's not going to be for some time. And Eric July, I was just watching a video before I started of him talking about he's issuing a challenge that the MCU would not change the characters, race bend them, gender swap, orientation, nothing. Just don't change the core for Fantastic Four. They're never going to be able to do it. You know that. You know that as much as I am. So for woke casting, I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring. Let's do some woke casting. I said, how about Chow Yun Fat for Reed Richards, because we got to appeal to the China, so to make some money. We got to make some money. We tried the Human Torch with Michael B. Jordan. This time, let's try Donald Glover. You know, he needs to recoup his image after Solo. We'll make him the Human Torch. Again, let's go back to casting Latina for Sue Storm. I'm gonna say Gina Rodriguez, except this time, we won't pretend like she's blonde and blue-eyed. We'll have to play it that she's a Latina. That's better. And let's see. I think the biggest one of all, the greatest casting, if I may say so myself, the greatest casting I think I've ever cast for any character. We've got Eddie Izzard as Ben Grimm, the ever-loving blue-eyed thing. Look at those blue eyes, fabulous. You're not coming down Yancey Street in those shoes, baby. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, that's my idea for woke casting. So if you have any suggestions, why not woke Ben Grimm? That's where we're going with all this stuff, right? That's where we're going. We're gonna have a woke Ben Grimm. We've already had Black Human Torch. Let's just go the full 9 yards. Let's go the full 9 yards. Let me know your casting choices for the Fantastic Four, as long as they're woke. I don't want to hear Emily Blunt, because she looks too much like Sue Storm. I don't want to have my Sue Storm look like Sue Storm. I want to make her look completely different. And Reed Richards, be creative. Don't say what's that guy's name that's married to Emily Blunt, John Krakistan or whatever his name is. He looks too much like Reed Richards, so forget it. Don't tell me Zac Efron for the Human Torch. He looks too much like we got to think outside the box. We can't have 4 members of a family look remotely alike and have all the same orientation. One of them has to be trans or gay or something. So give me your wokest character actor choices in the description, in the comments below. And yeah, we'll move on. I think it's time to move on. We've been here far too long. So let's see. Is that all we have to talk about? All right, yeah, that's all we have to talk about. We'll talk more about my comic, I'm sure, in the future. Thank you once again for joining the show. Thank you very much for being here. Please leave a like. Please share and subscribe. Please leave a comment below. I'll be sure to read it. And if you have any woke casting for the Fantastic Four, I'd be happy to hear it. So again, once again, until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.